What's up, Bills fans? I'm here at the halfway point of the '09 season, and it's been pretty much every Bills fan's worst nightmare, regardless of the fact that it's a 3-5. To me, they could easily be 0-8. I'd much rather them be 0-8 right now, because most likely Jauron would have been gone, and as he should have been gone for 2.5 years now. I've stated that several times, and hopefully, a better draft pick. But, this is what the Bills do. They hang in there just... I can't even call them mediocre anymore. They're that bad. They're just painfully brutal to watch, boring, completely just... They just look listless, lethargic, whatever word else you want to throw in there, be my guest. Their offense is so predictable, even us as fans can tell you what they're going to do. And Tarek Schoenert looks like he pretty much called it right down the middle when he called Dick Jauron wanting to run a Pop Warner offense, because that's pretty much what he's done. And probably pretty much what he's done ever since he's been in the league. He relies on his defense to keep him in games, get turnovers, and just keep the game close enough to you either edge it out with a small victory, or you either lose a close one or just basically get blown out of the water. And that's what happens to Dick Jauron teams. 8 losses in the last 9 home games, only 4 offensive touchdowns in that same period of time. The list goes on and on of just continuous slaps in the face to us Bills fans, because we care more than they do. This organization has become experts at trying to galvanize us as Bills fans over the years, and trying to instill false hope, overhyping, overrating the value of some of their own players, getting rid of good players in the under the guise of either they don't want to pay them or that they're going in a different direction. And we can just go back all the way to, in this era of players like Antoine Winfield, Nate Clements, Jason Peters, the list goes on and on. Peerless Price, who they traded for McGahee, and the whole drill. And bringing in a guy who was basically a loser as a head coach, and unfortunately we have Marv Levy to thank for all this. And it's kind of unfortunate, because a guy who was such a bright spot in Bills history has instilled such a blight on Bills history, which is Dick Jauron. He got his good buddy a job, and the NFL is pretty much like any other field of monetary gain, I guess. It's all who you know and who you're friends with, and this is what happens. You have guys in there that just don't belong there, and Dick Jauron does not belong coaching, I don't think, on any level, especially as an NFL head coach, maybe as a defensive coordinator, but to have delegated offensive, defensive responsibilities onto this guy is obviously way over his head. Because if you even have the time to care, if you want to go back and look back at the Bears' offensive ratings compared to the Bills' offensive ratings, it's eerily similar, mid to low 20s in offense across the board, scoring in the teens. It just the quarterback play just eerily horrible and very similar. And there's no more hope now. I mean, we had hope as Bills fans. They looked like they played hard for the guy in 07. They were marred with injuries, and Trent came along, and here's Trent, this guy making quick decisions, throwing the football, getting rid of it, not taking sacks, not throwing dumb interceptions. And then all of a sudden, here we go. Here's 08, and they start off great. Trent doing the same things, and all of a sudden they hit the skids. And Edwards, it seems like the longer he's been with Jauron as his coach, has basically become an extension of Jauron. He sounds like Jauron. He answers questions like Jauron. He seems confused when the press asks him, he seems like he seems confused, like the people don't like the coach. He's bad. And then Trent will respond something heinous like, oh, he's got us moving in that right direction, or he's the, this whole team lost me last year when they sat there and went to bat for this guy as a coach. Basically because he runs a soft camp, he runs soft practices, and if that's what you want, this is what you get. It's no coincidence that this team is consistently the most injured team in football year in and year out. They don't hit in training camp. They don't mix it up good in practice. I've heard stories how and the special teams isn't even good anymore. That's how bad it's gotten. The special teams, which was a bright spot, is not even good anymore. Most penalized special teams in football. Let's take your pick about bad loss after bad loss. The Browns game this year, 6-3. That it was just disgusting. Even the Monday night opener, it was like that any other team in the NFL wins that game with the situation that was given, and the Bills, of course, found a way to lose it with their soft defense that they like to play late in games when they have a lead and allow teams just to matriculate the ball down the field and score easy touchdowns. The Dolphins game, which they got murdered in, and then they get everybody's hopes up. They rattle off a couple of cheap wins against one bad team and a team that I just had to turn over the ball 6 times and still go over to overtime to beat with the Jets. And now this week, the dose of reality comes back against the Texans when they just basically they get outscored by 24. I think it's 25 or 22 unanswered points and 22 in the fourth quarter. And yet another second or third string running back rips them. Like Ahmad Bradshaw, Willie Parker. We can just keep going on and on. Was it Harrison from the Browns last year ran off a 70-yarder? Now this year, Moats just rips them. And I'm tired of giving these players a pass. It's fun to watch Jairus Byrd, and that's pretty much the only reason I'm going to watch is to see if he can get 10 or 12 interceptions this year. If he's healthy enough to play. See if Maven can develop. See if the young interior or the offensive line can develop. But outside of that, I really don't have any interest in watching this team. They're painfully boring, and they don't deserve us as fans, to be honest with us, Bills fans. They really don't. And that's about it. They're just, until they decide to everybody thought that Donahoe was such a black stain on this team. He is, but you know what? In a lot of ways, he's still there. Because the guys he brought in to hire talent are still there. Modrak and John Guy. These are the guys in Overdorf. These are the guys making decisions, bringing in free agents, helping draft talent, and they're still there. You might have gotten rid of Donahoe, but his minions are still there. And then you have a guy like Jerron, he's not going to go up to the front office and say, well, get me better linebackers, get me this, get me a real offensive line. He's making $3 million a year. Why is he going to go ruffle feathers? Who else in the NFL is going to pay Dick Duron $3 million a year to coach their team? Nobody but the Bills. So why should he ruffle feathers? Why should a guy like Trent Edwards go ruffle feathers? Who else is he starting for in the NFL? Barely anybody. The way he's playing, the way he acts. You want your quarterback to have fire and grit, and Trent just looks like a eunuch out there anymore. So I don't know, Bills fans. It's just, making one of these videos is just so redundant anymore. That's why I haven't even bothered. But I don't know. Hope you guys just hang in there. I'm still a fan, and just hope they can just clean out this front office and just bring in some real personnel people, a real coach, and just who can in turn bring in real players. That's the only what's going to happen. And until Ralph Wilson decides to relinquish control of that and make those decisions, it's not going to happen. And the things I've been reading about him and hearing about him anymore, he's been being led around the hand like a child. He is 91, and the clock is ticking. So unfortunately, you don't know how much time the guy has left or how much he's even interested anymore. And that's sad because it definitely lends to us getting the shit end of the stick. But you know what? In a lot of ways, I don't feel sorry for him because he didn't have the gall to go out at halftime of a horrible football game. It was the Cleveland and Bills game at home and get his Hall of Fame ring They made a big deal about the ceremony. They canceled the ceremony mid-flight, so he didn't go out there and get booed. They rattle off a couple of wins. They're leading, and then conveniently, they have the ceremony this game. So, and they ended up losing. So Ralph, you know what? I don't know how bad I feel for you, but I definitely feel for us Bills fans out there. And let's just hang in there and just never know what could happen and get a turnaround in the next few years. Thanks, Bills fans.